Hi there. It's a beautiful day in Central Ohio, and it's time to, again, try to get a bunch of the little plant babies that I've started from seed planted today. So I don't have yet a particular plan of where things are gonna go, except for a few things. So I'm gonna start there, and then I'm gonna just pile everything in my Gorilla Cart and roll it around to the different flower beds and see what we're going to put where. So I'll try to bring you along and share this planting time with you. I'm starting here at the front of the house. This front flower bed has gone through a few transitions already in just 3 years that I've been here. What has remained constant are the 3 boxwoods. The heucheras have been here for quite a while. I don't remember exactly which variety, but it's one that is just a really lovely shade of a pale kind of limey green. Got some yellow tones to it. It's just a really pretty fresh look. Some people say it kind of looks like lettuce. I just think it adds a nice contrast of texture and color. And then I used to have some crimson barberry bushes here in front. It's a combination that I've had at every home I've owned, and last year something got to them. They completely defoliated. I don't know if it was a disease or some sort of insect infestation, but either way I decided it was time for them to go and try something new. So I got something on end of season, and they didn't make it through the winter. So this spring I went and thought, let's try an even different texture, but with a color tone that has some of the green from the boxwood and some of the bright color of the heuchera. And I found these cypress bushes. They are called gold mop cypress, false cypress, and they just are so fun. I've got a couple others similar to this in another flower bed. They're evergreen, or ever whatever color, so they will give me a nice look in front of the porch all year long. And so now, and they will get taller. They'll get probably up to at least here, and they'll just add a nice different texture and color mixed in with the boxwoods and the heucheras nestled kind of underneath. So now the problem spot has been here in front. I've got a decent amount of space, probably 3-4 feet. I got these Abelia a couple years ago, and I love the idea of them. They've got multiple colors in the leaves. They're another texture altogether. It's just a beautiful variegation, but they haven't gotten much bigger than they were when I planted them. This one has a little bit, so I don't know what the stress is on these, but I'm gonna work on filling things in. So here's what we're gonna do, and this is also a tip on how to stretch your dollar. 2 main tips, and I've shared these before, but it's something that bears being repeated. When you go and buy perennials, a lot of times in things like quartz, if it's a type of a perennial that is going to grow and multiply, and you may need to at times maybe dig it up and divide it. This is a very common thing you have to do with hostas, daylilies, irises, things like that. You can also do it with these kinds of things. This is an annual geranium. It's also called crane's bill. It gets lovely purpley, blurply colored flowers. This one right now is not blooming, but this one is, and it's just such a pretty little plant. It tends to stay pretty low to the ground. I purposefully picked ones that looked like there were at least 2 plants, or maybe 3. Like this one, it looks like there's 3 plants there that I should be able to divide it up as I'm planting it. And here that looks like there's 1, 2, again maybe 3. So I, out of 2 pots, should hopefully be able to get 6 plants. Now they'll be a lot smaller and less full, but these are plants that tend to be pretty hardy, and they should put on a lot of growth fairly quickly. Same thing with this. This is a variegated liriope. Here's a tag, or sometimes called lily turf. And again, I picked up ones that I looked, and there's at least 2 or 3 distinct stems in here that when I take it out of the container, I'm going to shake as much of the dirt off that it's currently potted in and try to gently tease these apart. So I'm going to do that. Don't have a way to do that with the camera in one hand and doing it with the plants at the same time. So that's one thing. I'm going to hopefully get 5 or 6 plants out of 2 pots each, and I'm going to just mix these up here in the front. And then I have the other money saver is to start your own plants from seed. So I have a bunch of some coneflowers. I picked a couple of the varieties that I started that tend to not get as tall, and I'm going to sprinkle these through here. Most of them are a berry colored called Powwow. I think I have one white one, so I'll try to maybe put it towards the middle. I'm going to start more of that though, I think, for next year, so I could add more of the white if these end up liking it here. And that should hopefully give this space a little bit more going on. Now it's still going to look somewhat sparse, so I may also, from my collection of other things that I've started, I've got quite a few annuals over there. I don't know why I started so many. I don't really have specific places I was planning to put them, but anyways, I may add some of those in here too. So let me get all this done and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. One other method I forgot to mention, although I have mentioned it on other videos for saving money, is shop your own yard. As I separated these, and I did have to use my Hori Hori knife to cut them apart because I did forget that these grow kind of in bunches. They are basically a grass, and so they're so hardy, you can just kind of cut through them. And I think as long as they've got some of these little bulb-like things and a decent amount of roots, they are very vigorous plants. In fact, some people don't like them because in some instances they can kind of spread and spread and spread. I haven't had that experience, but anyways, back to the point. I forgot. I have a bunch of these already in my yard, in my landscape beds that have been here for 3 years. So they are decent sized plants. So I came over here and using my knife on this one, I just started chopping right straight down, chopped around until I could get underneath, and I picked it out of the ground, and there, I've got one chunk from that plant. And then I realized that's not the smartest way to do it. So I came over to another bed over there, and I actually used my shovel. I dug up the plant, shook off as much dirt as I could, and then cut it in half. And that gave me, so you can see kind of here's where I cut it with my shovel, and lots of roots. I'm gonna probably chunk this into 2 or 3 chunks using my knife, and then I'll have pieces kind of like this. This is the one that these pieces came from when I hacked out just by sticking my knife in the ground, and you can see they don't have as many roots, so that's why this one I went back and got the shovel and dug up the whole plant and chunked it up that way. So we'll see if these grow or not. Like I said, I've got several in my yard, so if I do like what they're bringing to this bed, the texture, the height here, that's a low height, but it's bringing the eye back up. So I'm going to sprinkle these all the way across, and by shopping my own yard, I now have enough plants to do that. It's a few days later, but I wanted to give you the update of what I've gotten planted so far here in this front bed by shopping my yard, splitting up plants, and planting things that I've grown from seed. Those are some of my best suggestions for saving money. And so here I have 3 lavender plants that I started from seed inside, and that will hopefully take off and can kind of then match on the other side of this walkway, the lavender over there. I've got quite a random collection of things in here. There is the liriope that is either the splitting up of the couple that I bought or the chunking up from pieces in my own flower beds already. I've got several of the coneflower varieties that I started from seed, so those kind of go in a drift sprinkled throughout. Most of them are the powwow berry. There is a couple here that are white swan. This one I started indoors from seed, and the ones on the either side were some of the ones from when I was doing winter sowing. And then here is where I chunked up a couple of the perennial geranium, hardy geranium plants that I had purchased, and they looked super sad right after, and they still don't look like they love me, but so far they seem to be working on bouncing back. And on either side of those I have some lilac thrift or armeria, I'm not sure if I say that correctly, plants. They have the cutest little sweet puffballs on them. They are a perennial, so similar puffball to like a gomphrena. And they will tend to bloom mostly early summer or late spring. Also put a couple columbine in here that I started from seed, McKenna's Giants Mix, so I have no idea what colors they'll be. And then continuing with some cone flowers here and there, I also, you can see there and there. And then I also have quite a few of several different varieties of penstemon that I started from seed. So there's some blue ones. There's kind of a pinkish color called Palmer penstemon that I put kind of on either side here. They're pretty hard to see. Let me see if I can get down closer. So like here's one. So we'll see. They're not very big. They're kind of a little bit struggly. Some of them are bigger and better. The ones that are littler are the ones that I left in seed trays that were a little small for a little too long. So lots of filling in here. This bed, if everything survives, should then look much more full and about where we're trying to get it to be. Over here I have a bunch of ornamental grasses that are perennial. They will come back, called blue grama grass, and so I have a whole bunch of those through here. Also still some more that may be a little bit hard to see, cone flowers sprinkled in here, some more of the grama grass. I put several of the penstemons I started. They're real hard to see because of their size and their color. They're not super happy. Some of them look better than others, but they're the same variety as these that I grew last year from seed. So I'm hoping to kind of continue that as like a drift through here. I also dug up a couple that were buried underneath some other plants. They are very unhappy with me right now. So and then over here, a few more of the grasses. So starting to get the bare spots filled in. We'll see how everybody does, but that takes it to where I think this area is going to be with the filling in of plants. I have still lots of things to plant if I can get to it, but I wanted to give you the update of where this area ended. Thanks for joining me here in Aunt Susan's garden.